everyone. Welcome to our monthly Cloud Leadership Circle meetup. It's great to see you all here today. To kick it off, our first speaker of the day, we have Lauren Ducrey. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Lauren, and take it away.
Hello, everyone in the room. It's nice to see some names, some patches of colors, and some faces. So I will be bringing some emotional intelligence into the room in the form of Heartificial Intelligence. So my name is Lauren Ducrey. I'm a poet, an author, an AI designer, and also a string cheese enthusiast. I spent 7 years at Google designing the personalities of AI like the Google Assistant and Gemini. But today I'm in the room because of one statistic. And I think the statistic will make any leader in the room pause. And this is that McKinsey predicts that in the next 5 years, the demand for socio-emotional skills like leadership, like creativity, like communication, like empathy is going to increase by 14%. So just taking a moment to pause and let that sit with us, because these socio-emotional skills are the second fastest growing skill set right behind IT, right behind technical skills. And if you think of it, this means that in a room of 20 technical job candidates, whereas before that technicality was enough, the 3 who now demonstrate this high emotional intelligence are really going to be the ones that stand out. Right? So I know that folks in the room have dedicated their careers to mastering these incredible technical skills, right? Building infrastructure, shipping code, scaling solutions. And the invitation today, the plot twist to embrace, is that your edge isn't necessarily in being the most technical person in the room. Not when LLMs can code, not when agents can now actually do things on our behalf. But your edge is in being the most emotionally intelligent technical person in the room. And the big reason for that is because digital transformation is human transformation first.
Cloud Leadership Circle is brought to you by Ducrey Ventures, a leading provider of expert recruitment services. Whether you are starting out or scaling up, Ducrey Ventures recruitment solutions will give you access to expert recruiters who will find the right fit every time. Contact Ducrey Ventures today for a free consultation to build your dream team.
Right. As leaders, you're not just implementing change, right? You're really guiding humans through that change. And the numbers are in here as well. McKinsey also tells us that 70% of change efforts fail, not because the plan is bad, but because people didn't feel safe enough to follow it, right? Because people felt like it was easier to tag someone else and say, you're it. Right? The code might have been clean, but often the communication is brittle. People don't resist change. They resist not feeling seen, feeling left behind, feeling little. They don't resist the tech. They resist not feeling support. And when innovation feels like a storm, there is a secret in finding your port. And you won't find it by looking for all the answers. What information is true today might not be tomorrow's anchor. You'll find it by so deeply listening to your team that their fear dissolves into might, into how might this help me build something better? How might this make my work feel a little lighter? So your compass is a code you already know. It's conversation. It's a code that's also an art form, but it's made of stuff you already use day in and day out, language. And it's the same stuff that this new wave of AI is made of. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how to unlock your emotional intelligence and master the language of empathy, not just in an age of AI, but actually with AI. Because what I've learned in my career is that AI can help us be better communicators. So the first example that I'd like to share with you is how my former team at Google helped make the Google Assistant a model for empathetic communication. So when we were working on Assistant, we had an idea of the questions that people would ask, the top questions that people would ask, right? Trends. What are the top questions that people are asking? And during COVID, when we were all at home talking to our agents a little bit more, a coworker of mine noticed a new trend. And that trend is that people started asking questions or actually almost confessing emotions, saying things like, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm afraid. understandable given the context that we were in. And so we partnered with researchers in psychology, with people who had a background in clinical therapy, to come up with the most relevant and the most thoughtful responses without falling into therapy. These assistants are obviously not therapists, but without being alienating, without being cold. And I would be curious in the room, if you imagine yourself, we're back in COVID days, you're at home and you have a moment where you tell your assistant, I'm sad. Which option would you prefer receiving? And you can drop your answers in the chat. Would you rather hear option A, I'm sorry you're sad, I hope you feel better soon? Option B, thanks for sharing that with me, being honest about your feelings is a big step. Option C, sadness is a common emotion. Feeling down or unhappy in response to grief, discouragement, or disappointment is normal. If ongoing, this may indicate depression. So curious, just dropping in the chat. There's no quote unquote correct answer. This is truly your preference. And I will tell you what we went with. I'm seeing some B, I'm seeing some C, more Bs, an A. Wonderful. So after a bunch of testing, we decided to go with option B. Okay, I'm sad. And then in response, thanks for sharing that with me. Being honest about your feelings is a big step. I've been learning about ways to cope with sadness. Would you like to hear one? And what we found here was that the most important step was to validate the user's experience, right? To validate that they had just shared something quite vulnerable without even having more context. And this was so successful that we ended up rolling this strategy out to 30 different countries in 30 different languages. So this was a really inspiring moment for me where I was like, okay, AI can model empathetic communication, but what if AI could help us practice our empathetic communication skills? And this is when I encountered two people from the Trevor Project. So some of you might be familiar with the Trevor Project. If not, it's one of the biggest crisis hotlines specifically for the LGBTQ plus community. And they did something quite remarkable. They developed an AI-powered chatbot, but the chatbot did not interact with callers in crisis. They developed the chatbots so that counselors could practice having these really important life-saving conversations with the chatbot before having them with callers in crisis. And it turns out that this training method was really effective. And so imagine if we could all practice having important conversations, not necessarily about mental health, but beyond mental health as well. Well, there are two people from the Trevor Project, Sam Dorison and John Callery, that got us halfway there. And I got to work with them on this awesome project, this awesome product called Home Team. It was backed by the company they started called Reflex AI. And Home Team is a program that's dedicated to empowering vets to become better supporters to other vets. So vets from the US military. You might wonder, okay, why are we talking about vets? Why did Home Team decide to serve vets specifically? Well, because of this statistic that I'm going to share with you that is unsettling. And the statistic is that US military veterans are 1.5 times more likely to die by suicide than non-veterans. And so the team recognized the following opportunity. They found that 92% of veterans report wanting to help their peers with their mental health, but only 25% feel equipped to do so. And so that's what we set out with a brilliant team, is to bridge that gap between the 92% who want to help, but only the 25 who feel like they're equipped to do so. And so we built Home Team to equip veterans with practical skills to have conversations about mental health with their peers. We designed a bunch of amazing educational programs that taught about empathetic communication, how to ask open questions, how to ask follow-up questions, how to listen actively. But here's the twist. At the end of each module, the learners get to practice those skills live in conversation with an AI that plays the role of a veteran in crisis. Right? So again, they get to rehearse these important conversations. We're having them in real life. And I just want to pause on how much of a flip this is in our way of approaching AI, because what Home Team proposes here is that it's flipping the script from AI providing support to humans to AI enabling humans to be better supporters to other humans. So it's not replacing any human role that exists, but it is opening up a whole new space for conversational practice in this low stakes, anonymous environment that didn't exist before. And this is where you come back in, because you can do this too. You can quite easily actually prompt a large language model like ChatGPT or Gemini, whichever one you prefer, prompt the model to role play through important conversations with you. Important conversations that you might need to have at work to impact change, to bring people along in this digital transformation. And so this is my call to wonder rather than a call to action to you all is what conversation might you be avoiding? And what difficult conversation would you have tomorrow with your leadership, with your reports, with your stakeholders, if you knew that you could practice having it in an anonymous, low-risk environment? How would it change how you show up to that conversation, how you show up to work that day, that week, and again, how confident you feel in impacting the change that you know needs to happen? There's this beautiful quote by the emotions researcher Brené Brown that goes, "Language is the greatest tool for meaningful connection, and having access to the right words changes everything." And we are in an era where language is the operating system now for both humans and machines. And we have this incredible opportunity to actually turn to the machines to help us improve how we use our language to connect with each other. And so the 3 points I want to leave you with today is that emotional intelligence is absolutely your leadership edge in this age of AI. Technical skills will get you in the room, but the emotional intelligence will get you trust, and that's how you'll get to the change that you want to impact. Second point is that emotional intelligence is a skill set that you can learn like any other. Don't be afraid. Don't be fooled by what you might hear out there. You can learn this too. And communication language is a great first step. Emotional intelligence is a very rich field, but already learning the language of emotion is an easy and actionable first step that you can start to do with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with Copilot, or your enterprise LLM. So that is all for me now. Thank you so much. I have prepared a recap of some of the highlights that I shared with you today that you can download here. If you're curious, I'd love to connect on LinkedIn